guys, thanks for stopping by my channel. Today's video, we're going to take a look at my completed pages that I did for the month of May. I did a little bit more than I normally do this month, so I was pretty excited for that. I did take about a week off from filming videos, and I was doing a little bit more coloring because I wasn't thinking about videos and product reviews and stuff like that. This is the first one I'm going to show you. This is from Gracia Salvo in her book Brightness. It's the Woman of Flowers collection 3. This was the first one I did for the month actually that I worked on, and I did have an accident. I was kind of pushing it, I think, with the layers, and I went a little too far and I started to get a hole in her chin here. I kind of recovered it a little bit because it was actually a little bit worse than it looks like now. It's like kind of a smooth paper. This paper is like really nice for alcohol markers. I did do some alcohol markers actually. I did alcohol marker on the flowers and part of her sari, and I did her bindi. I did a red gel pen, which actually I messed it up. It wasn't dry all the way, and I touched it by accident, and I was like, oh no. First this mess up, and then I was like, oh no, not another mess up. And then but I was able to fix it. I was able to clean it up a little bit and then color over it. So, but even though with all those minor obstacles, and I think this is my favorite one of the month. I like how she came out. All right. Next up is this one by Christine Caron's Wildflower Folk. You guys might have seen this one already, mostly finished. I did do a color and chat on this one, talking about the origins of boho style. I'll put the card in for that one if you haven't seen it. But I did this one mostly with alcohol markers and just a little bit over here, and a little bit detail on her headscarf I did with the Evazar London colored pencils. And all I had to finish at the time of filming the color and chat was I had her jewelry to do, and I just did some more alcohol marker and a gel pen on some of her jewelries, her bracelets, and the little flower ring. This was a fairly quick coloring I did, and I actually like how it came out with the alcohol markers, just because this is a grayscale book, and alcohol markers are really great on grayscale. If you're scared of grayscale, just get yourself a set of alcohol markers and just fill it in, because it's mostly like the shading's already done for you, and it kind of helps you learn where the shading goes and when you don't have the grayscale around too. So, and I think I just colored her cheeks over with some colored pencil on top, and I was surprised. I put this paper here behind the page because I was planning on using alcohol markers. I was like, oh, let me make sure I don't get any transfer onto this page. And you can see here it's totally clean. It didn't even transfer over to the next page. So I was actually thinking about going in more, like shading a little bit more on top of the marker with with colored pencils, but I was just like, oh, I think it looks fine as is. I do want to color some more in this book. There's a lot of really great images in here. Okay, so next up is this page I did in Anastasia Koldareva's Blackbird Song. She's another one of my favorite coloring book artists, and I have all of the books that I have from her. I have pretty much all of them, I think. The only ones I don't have the ones about dragons, because that's not really something I like to color. I like portraits, as many of you guys probably know by now. I do love coloring portraits, but out of the ones that I do have, I'm trying to color at least one image in all of the books that I have of hers. So I actually, technically, I did color this image, but it's not in the book, this front cover image. She gave that to us as like a freebie when the book came out. So I did have that one colored, but nothing else in here had I colored until I colored this one. I did this one with the Starjoy pencils. I keep wanting to say Starjoy Gold because that's what I'm used to saying, but it's just the regular Starjoys. These actually, they came out with an updated version of their 72 set, which was an updated version of their original 120 piece set. So I did do a video review on those too. So I really liked how this one came out too. I did spend probably the most time out of all my pages that I colored for the month was spent on this one. It did take me a long time to finish this one. I don't really like how I ended up with this flower. I was intending to do it pink, and then I don't know what happened. I think I changed my mind, and I was like, oh, maybe I should do some kind of green just so it kind of matches the frog. And I did do a little bit of alcohol markers. The only thing I did alcohol markers was on the flower. I did like a base of like a chartreuse base and her eye, which I usually do alcohol marker on the eye as a base. I always like to do like an alcohol marker, and then I go over with the blender marker, and then I color on top with some colored pencils. But I did do this little frog. I think he came out cute. Oh, and then I did chalk pastels for the background too. Okay, next up I have some smaller images that I printed out on this colored pencil paper, the Strathmore colored pencil paper. I ordered this just to try it out. I had been interested in getting this paper and trying it out because I've heard people say it's really nice. It just so happened that I ended up placing an order on Jerry's Artorama for the 2 new Prismacolors, and they have a really high shipping limit now. They raised it up to like $59, something crazy like that. So I was like, oh man, I really want these pencils. I really want to see what the colors look like, but I was like, I don't want to pay shipping. And I was like, oh, let me just grab some stuff that I know that I've been wanting to get, and I've just been putting it off. So I picked this up and I printed some images out on here. This one is from Marina Art. You might know her as Coloring Book 2020 on Etsy. She has a Patreon. I just joined, and this was for the May's Patreon. So I printed it out on this little piece of paper. All I did was this is not perforated, you know, it's just, I took it out. I got my paper cutter and cut it across nice and even. And I set my printer to A5 size. And it's not exact, this paper is not exactly A5 size. It's 6 by 8. But it was like the closest size that I knew that would kind of come out acceptable on this little piece of paper. And I think it worked out pretty well. I just put some washi tape around the border. And I used some Caran-D'Ache pencils and Holbein pencils. I was like, oh, let me use some fancy pencils on this fancy paper. And it worked out really, really beautifully. They felt so nice, the Caran-D'Ache pencils and the Holbein pencils. It was so amazing. I know that sounds like ridiculous. Like, Crystal, what's the big deal? It's just paper. But it was such a nice coloring experience to color on this paper with those nicer high quality pencils. I also did Prismacolors too, and on her hair. That wasn't as great as the Caran-D'Ache or the Holbein pencils. So I'm kind of reserving this paper for my more fancy pencils, I think, rather than my more inexpensive pencils. But yeah, if you have this paper, let me know how you like it down in the comments. I did some alcohol marker in the background. This hair took me so long, even though it was so tiny, like small. I could imagine if I would have made it like regular size on like a regular size piece of paper. So I do really like how this one came out too, for the most part. I tried a few different colors for the skin, like different than I would normally use for like a human person. I was like, oh, she's a mermaid. We can give her some blues and pinks, and like I wanted her to have like a really cold, cool kind of skin tone. So that was a little bit different for me on that one. Let's see. The next one I have in here, I have one more in here that I did, is this one. This is from the artist, I know I'm going to say her last name wrong, but it's Ella. I'm going to flash it on the screen because I can't remember how to pronounce the last name. But I really like her a lot. I have purchased a few of her images from Etsy, and I follow her on Facebook as well. And this is one of her newer ones she just came out with. As soon as I saw it, I printed it out, and I was like, colored it that day. I was really excited to color it. And I'm wanting to practice more with clothing and folds and everything. So this was a really good practice for me. I think I just used, I don't even remember. I know I did Black Widows. Yeah, I must have been Black Widows. And I think I did the suspenders and her pants with the Evasor colored pencils. I'm pretty sure. But everything else I think is Black Widows. And I used some grays and lavenders on the shirt just to give it, I was trying to make it look like white. And so I thought those would be the best colors to try. So, well, that was the first one I printed out. It didn't come out good, so I didn't want to waste the paper, and I printed it out on the other side. So thinking, I do think I'm going to pick up the larger size version of it, even though I do like how the pages come out on the small paper. All right, you guys, so I think that's all we have for today. Thanks for visiting with me for a little while, and I hope you guys all have a really great rest of your day. Happy coloring, and I'll see you next time.